Hello everyone, welcome to Outward Primary Academy Family of Schools. My name's Jackie Gray and I'm the Director of Early Years across the Trust. You can see a picture of me in the left-hand corner there. And I just want to take this opportunity to welcome you all to this nursery meeting for the new starters. And can I just say at this time that I've worked in early years for a lot of years. And I still find the job absolutely fascinating because young children never fail to amaze me. You know your children so well, and I'm sure you feel the same. Every day something new occurs, and they just enjoy life, are full of life, and just absolutely soak up all that new information and new knowledge that comes by them every day. So it's just a fascinating job to be in. And I'm sure as a parent, you are really looking forward to your child starting nursery. It's a new experience for them, the beginning of their learning journey. And it's a really lovely time. I hope you're not too apprehensive because I know that can sometimes happen, but I'm sure your child is looking forward to joining us in the nursery. So I'm going to just talk to you now a little bit about what will happen when your child comes to nursery. And I'm sorry it has to be like this where we do it virtually, because normally you would go to your child's school, you'd meet their teacher, you'd have a look around the provision. But unfortunately at the moment we've got to limit visitors into school. So I'm doing it virtually for you. I hope that you get the information that you need. But when we get to the end of the presentation, if you've still got questions, please do not hesitate to contact your school and ask them any questions that you would like. Okay, so let's make a start. A little bit about the nursery sessions, because we have a morning and an afternoon session, and you've probably by now completed your preference form. We do try to accommodate every parent and give you the session that you would like. If you do have any concerns, please don't hesitate to speak to your nursery teacher, and they will do what they can to accommodate you. You will be very shortly getting a nursery newsletter that gives you lots of nice information about what happens in the nursery. And on there will be the start and finish times. It will be different probably for September. So if the start and finish times are not on that newsletter, your teacher will be contacting you to let you know the date and the start and finish times for September. A little bit about the staggered start. Our aim in all our nurseries is to ensure that children come to nursery, are really happy and settled and have a wonderful experience. So when they first come, we want to try to give them as much time as we can to settle them in, show them how to use the activities, support them with their toileting needs, with their paintings. So we really do take the time to settle them in. So we might have a staggered start where a few children come in and we get them settled, and then we bring in a few more children. So that's the process that we might go through to ensure that your child is really settled and happy. A little bit about the 30 hours entitlement. The 30 hours is available to working parents who meet the eligibility criteria. Now, if you want to find out more about this, you can see on the screen there's a little screenshot of the website, www.gov.uk, and that's where you get the information about the 30 hours free childcare. A little bit about the Early Years Pupil Premium. This is additional money that's paid to childcare providers for children of families in receipt of certain benefits. The information for this can be found on the parent agreement form. So, how can you help your child to get ready for starting school? Well, one of our main aims when they come into nursery, it is to support children to be independent. We want them to try to put on their own coat and shoes, to be able to maybe take their cardigan off or their jumper, to go to the toilet and wash their hands independently. They'll be doing things like washing their painting pots and paintbrushes. So, all the time, we're working with your children to try to build their independence. And I know young children of this age, they do love to do things independently and they get a little bit frustrated when they can't. So, we do try to help them to gain that independence. And if you can do that in preparation for them starting nursery, and certainly as they're going through nursery, because by the time they get to reception class, we want them to be able to do as much as they can for themselves. A little bit about safeguarding. Obviously, when adults are collecting or dropping off children, we need to know who those adults are so that we can make sure that your child is safe at all times. If it is going to be somebody different from the normal person, we would need you to let us know in advance, because if someone came and we didn't know them, we wouldn't be able to let your child go with them. Medicines and allergies, we need to know if your child has got any allergies at all. In terms of medicines, if a child has to take medicine that's been prescribed by the doctor and it has to be administered 4 times a day, then we would be able to do this, but you'd need to complete a form at the school office just so that we have the permission to give your child that medicine. In terms of accidents, well, we know, don't we, when children are running around outside, they have bumps and often they get grey shins and bruised knees. If your child does have an accident, our first and prime concern is to make sure that your child is safe and content. So we would support them. We would then complete the accident book, and so we would put in there the date and the time and what had happened. And then your child would bring home a slip that would tell you a little bit about that accident. Now, if it was an accident that was more serious, we would get in touch with you straight away via telephone or via a text. We might try to contact you by the emergency number that you've given us. So, could you please make sure that your contact details are up to date so that we've always got contact with you, with yourself, or somebody else that we would be able to talk to? Now, in terms of toileting, we know that young children at this age are learning to become independent and use the toilet independently. We have lots of experience of working with young children, and often we see children, they might be playing outside and we see them doing a little bit of a jig and a dance, and we might say, "Oh, do you think you need to go to the toilet?" So we're prompting them to go, but accidents do happen, and we just don't make a fuss. Our aim is to make sure that your child is dry and clean, and so we would take them to the toilet and support them to get them comfortable. We do have an intimate care policy, so that if you want to read this, it does set out in details how we would carry out that intimate care for your child. A little bit about the early years foundation stage, because this is the name of the curriculum which has been in place since 2012. And it's split into stages, and these stages are age related. Now, we know that all children learn at different rates and develop at different rates, and we take account of that when they're in our setting. What we do aim for is for children to achieve all the early learning goals by the time they leave reception. So this is what we're working towards as they go through nursery and through reception. We're monitoring and tracking their progress towards the early learning goals. Now, in the early years foundation stage, we have 7 areas of learning, and these are the things that we focus on in nursery. We focus on 3 prime areas initially, and that's communication and language. And the reason for that is we want all children to be able to communicate their needs effectively. We want them to be able to communicate so that they can make relationships with other children and develop those early friendships. So communication in language is really important, and we will work with you and work with your child to support their development in this key area. Another of the prime areas is physical development. Again, we want your child to be able to run and walk safely, to be able to manipulate tools like scissors and pencils and paintbrushes. We want them to learn about how to keep healthy and exercise. And all these elements are part of their physical development that we will be working on whilst they are in the nursery. And indeed, all the way through reception. But we really place importance on them in these early years in nursery. We also work with them on their personal, social, and emotional development. It's really important that children develop their dispositions and attitudes to learn, that they have self confidence and self esteem, that they're able to make relationships with other children and know how to cooperate and take turns and share. So we'll be really supporting their development through these areas. We've talked about the three areas of learning in nursery that we really focus on, but also in nursery and through reception, we cover the specific areas. Literacy, which is reading and writing, mathematics, number, shape, space, and measures. Understanding the world, this encompasses geography, so children learn about their immediate locality. We look at sort of the science aspect, so that's all around living things and what they need to develop and grow. We look at their own traditions and cultures and beliefs and that of others so that they get that wider perspective on the world around them. And lastly, in the specific areas, expressive arts and design. And this gives children the opportunity to be creative and imaginative. So they will be painting, they'll be making models, they'll be playing in the role play area. All that is encompassed within the expressive arts and design. So we've got those 7 areas of learning, but we then have to track your children's progress across those 7 areas. So we carry out observations. Now, as an early years teacher that's been in early years for a lot of years, I am absolutely fascinated when observing young children. I said at the beginning, they never fail to amaze me. I'll just tell you a little story that'll bring this to life. I was observing some children and they were playing in the role play area. Now, it was a domestic role play area, so there was a fridge in there and a cooker and a table and chairs. One of the little girls was laying down on the floor and she'd got a tea towel over her. And it transpired as I was watching them that actually she was a patient in hospital and this was her blanket. There were other children playing with her and she was giving them all roles. So you can be the doctor, you can be the mummy, and I'm the patient. So they were reenacting this experience that she'd had in hospital. Just a snippet of 5 minutes watching these children told me an awful lot about them. And the particular little girl that was lying down on the floor with the tea towel over her, I could see just from that one observation that that little girl was really confident because she was leading the play. She was organising the children and giving them different roles. You can be the doctor, you can be the mummy, I'm the patient. I could tell that she was really articulate because she was giving clear instructions to the other children of what she wanted them to do. So, in terms of her communication and language, she was developing really well in that area of learning. I could tell that she was really imaginative because actually they were in the kitchen with the cooker and the fridge around them, but in her mind, she had set up a hospital and she would use the tea towel for a blanket. She actually suggested that one of the other children use a little bit of plastic tubing as a stethoscope. So she was using her imagination in her play. So just from that one little observation, I got so much information. Now that information was then put onto the assessment tracker. I could see exactly which stage she was at in terms of her communication and language, in terms of her personal and social development, because she'd obviously got good relationships with the other children, and in terms of her expressive arts and design, because she was using her imagination. So, observations feed into the assessment tracker. From the assessment tracker, then I could tell what do I need to do next for that little girl to support her next steps of development. And that's how it works in early years: observation, assessment, planning next steps so that we can make sure that our children make good progress. I'll just tell you a little bit all about me. You will be getting this through the post with the nursery leaflet and the nursery newsletter. And this is for you to complete and bring back when your child starts school. The All About Me leaflet is a lovely way for us to find out what your child is interested in and what they like. So it asks questions like, for example, what's their favourite food? Or what's their favourite toy? Or what do they like to watch on television? So it's just little things that give us some idea of what your child likes. A little example I've got for you here. A little boy started at my nursery, and when I read his All About Me sheet, it said that he really liked being in the garage with his daddy and helping him to mend the car. And his favourite music was Lady Gaga. So before that little boy came in, I was able to set up the cars in the construction area. I put a little toolbox in there so that when he came in, he was fascinated and went to play in the car. I took him to the construction area and showed him the cars and the tools. And every morning when he came in, he used to go straight to the construction area to mend the cars. So it really helped him to settle in and have something that he knew about and that he was interested in. And I was able to support his learning by finding out what he knew about cars, what his language development was like, what his physical development was like, and what I needed to do next to support him. I have to say, we did use the Lady Gaga music because we had a performance outside on the stage and we put the music on, and his little face lit up when he heard the Lady Gaga music. So the All About Me booklet is really lovely, a really lovely way to help us to support your child's interests. Your child might bring home a wow sheet from school. If they do, it's an opportunity for you to fill it in to say something that your child has done that's really special. So, for example, they might have swum a length of the swimming pool. They might have been to a football match and really enjoyed it. They might have been to dance class and got a certificate. Something that makes us all go, wow, when they bring it in, and they can share it with their friends and with their teacher. So that might be something that your child brings home. Now, I feel really proud to work for Outward Academy Trust because the environments across the early years settings in every school are absolutely high quality, rich, stimulating environments. And we spend so much time making them really exciting for young children so that they'll want to come in and they'll want to experience all those learning opportunities that are on offer. These are just a few that I want to share with you. I mean, if you look at that hospital, this was set up specifically as a hospital role play area. But teachers go to a lot of trouble to make them look authentic. They really carefully plan, what can I put in the hospital that will support children's development? So for example, they might be developing children's language, and children will be learning about different equipment like stethoscopes, x-rays, patient, prescription, medicines, all those things that support children's language development and children's understanding of what's in their environment. So, if ever they do have to go to hospital, then they'll know a little bit about it. If they've been, then they can reenact the experiences that they've had. Opportunities for mark making, so children will be filling in prescriptions and taking telephone calls. So it gives them time to play with other children, cooperate, share, take turns. Lovely environment there for those children. We always try to tap into children's interests, and we know that young children love dinosaurs. So at the bottom left there, we've got a dinosaur swamp. In the middle centre, we've got a dinosaur small world tray. Children play with those dinosaurs, they reenact stories that they've had, and just get so much enjoyment out of using that language, using their imagination and role playing different scenarios. We make sure that we plan learning experiences across the 7 areas of learning. So you can see in the in the right hand bottom corner there, we've got bones with numbers on. And it might be that the children had been interested in dogs and the teacher had thought, oh, I know, I'd like them to learn more about numbers. So I'll put some bones in the sand pit and they can dig for the bones and see if they can recognize the number. So the environments are planned really rigorously and specifically to support children's learning across those 7 areas. The outdoor play area is set up in just the same rigorous way. For the outdoors, we try to make sure that it's different to indoors because it provides different opportunities. It gives children chance to be more robust, to be noisier, to be a little bit messier. It gives children opportunities to experience the weather and the seasons firsthand. And a lot of children like being outdoors. So when we're putting equipment outdoors, we give them opportunities for things like growing so that they can learn what plants need to grow and to thrive. And they can record how the plants change from seed to flower. So lots of opportunities for learning about the science aspect. Also, in terms of large construction, children can build with really large building bricks outdoors. Down at the bottom there in the centre, it says pig in the pond, and these children had had a story about a pig in a pond. They'd then actually made the pond, and believe it or not, those children there are dangling their feet in some water that was the pig's pond. So lots of opportunities for learning outdoors, but on a grander scale than inside. So it might be a good idea to arrive prepared for all weathers because your children will be going outside whatever the weather. So if you can make sure that if it's a very cold day, they've got nice warm clothing, it will support them when they're outdoors. A little bit about the school uniform. New starters to the academy receive a uniform bundle, and you will already have completed a form for this, I'm sure. But you can see there what it is that they need in terms of their school uniform. Could I just ask, please, that every item of clothing is labelled with your child's name? Because, you know, they do take their jumpers off and cardigans outside, and that you know what young children are like, bless them, when they get really engaged in play, they'll just drop it on the floor. And then at the end of the session, we're rounding them up and saying, whose is this cardigan? And if it hasn't got a name on, it's very difficult. So could you just try to make sure, please, that your child's clothing is labelled? Unfortunately, children can't wear earrings in school, and this is purely for health and safety reasons. We don't allow earrings to be worn in school. So if your child is going to have their ears pierced, if you could make it during a holiday so that by the time they come back to school, they can take their studs out, just for health and safety. Now, we do provide snack, and at Outwood Academy Trust, we use every moment of the day as a learning opportunity. So when children are having their snack, we'll be talking to them about healthy eating. We'll be talking to them about the effects of exercise on their body and just helping them to learn about how to keep healthy. So we provide a snack every day and we provide a carton of milk. I am aware that not all children like milk, so they are allowed to bring in a water bottle. But could you please ensure that it is water in it and not juice, because it is amazing. Even if the bottle isn't see-through, It's amazing how the other children find out that they've actually got juice in there, and we don't want other children having a drink as well. I would say that during this time of COVID-19, it might be that they can't have water bottles, but you would just need to speak to your teacher about this. I'm sure your teacher will come up with some way. We will make sure that the children are hydrated at all times, because that's part of keeping healthy. We absolutely value our partnership with parents. And so we will do everything we can to work with you to support your child. We do have lovely activities that go between home and school that support your child's learning. And some of the things I'm going to just share with you now, although some of them might be after COVID, because transporting things between home and school at the moment, we're trying to limit those things. But if I just tell you a little bit about Charlie Bear has got a better social life than me. Charlie Bear goes to people's houses and he goes home with the child, and he might stay for a week or just the weekend. And Charlie Bear has all the experiences that the child has. So if you go to an adventure park, you take Charlie with you. If you go to see grandma, Charlie goes with you. And then when your child comes back to school and brings Charlie Bear back, he can share all Charlie Bear's adventures with the teacher and the other children. And the other children are just fascinated to hear what Charlie Bear's been doing at your child's house. So that's a lovely way for your child to share the experiences in the home environment, in his school environment or her school environment. And it also supports your child's communication skills, because being able to talk to a group of children is one of their developmental milestones. We have the Marvellous Me box. That comes home as an empty box, and we ask that children put things in it that are special to them. So we've had things like their first pair of shoes. Some children have brought their favourite toy in. They might bring a picture of their pet. And then when they come into school, they open the box and they share all those things with the other children in the class. Children love to hear about what's in the box. So it's a lovely time for your child, but it's also a lovely time for the other children as they share in your child's special things. Another way that we like to share information with parents is through Twitter. So when you get your consent form, and I think you've already had this, you've probably already completed it, you will have been asked to fill in details of your Twitter account. And then you can send a Twitter request to your school, and this will give you access to the locked class account, where photographs of your child will be on there, but there's only your class. That's just for your class. So speak to your teacher about this, but it is a lovely way to see what your child is doing. In terms of Twitter in general, the teacher does put things out on Twitter, but it would just be things like what's happening maybe in school the next week. She might put some images on of things that they've been doing in the classroom, but it wouldn't be photographs of your child unless we'd got consent for that. Sometimes we have reading sessions where parents come in and read a story with their child. These are lovely opportunities for parent and child to read together. Again, this will have to be after COVID, unfortunately, but it will be up and running again, I'm sure. Just a little bit about behaviour management. Our aim in all our early years settings is to make children feel confident, secure, and happy. We use positive reinforcement to support their behaviour. And so at all times, we understand that on occasions children do make the wrong choice, but it's our role to work with your child to support them to reflect on their behaviour and think about how in the future they can make the right choice. There is a little bit of information on this slide about our behaviour system, the consequence system, but we have a behaviour policy. And so if you want to find more detail on that, speak to your child's teacher, and they will let you have a look at the behaviour policy. You can take one of those away with you. So you will have already had the consent forms with all the information about the homeschool agreement, the local visits, the photo consent, Twitter, and I just want you to know that we take very seriously data protection. You will be getting in a few weeks a nursery leaflet, a nursery newsletter, and the All About Me booklet. And so the newsletter and leaflet will give you far more information about your specific school and what's happening in your school, all the lovely activities and information about the procedures and the systems in there. So we've come to the end now, but what I would like to say is how excited we are about welcoming you to Outward Family of Schools, where we really do put children first in order to raise standards and transform lives. You can see there some wonderful images. I've already talked about our vibrant early years environments. And so there's a couple of images there. What I would say in September, when you come in, the settings might look a little bit different to this because we've had to look at the government guidance in terms of safety around COVID-19. So some of the environments might not look quite as stimulating as this because we've had to be really careful in our choice of equipment to make sure that children are kept safe. But what I will say is, I know that your child will have the warmest welcome and will really enjoy their time in Outward Schools. So I look forward to meeting you at some point, and thank you very much for listening to me. As I said at the beginning, please don't hesitate to contact your school if you've got any more questions following this presentation. Thank you.